Hello, wonderful ladies. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're doing it live. I know maybe with school holidays it might be a bit tricky to join live, but I decided I'll keep that consistent with the timing. And then if you can't make it, you can always listen to this and share with me your comments on a replay. And I'll just quickly see if I can access this through my phone as well, so perhaps I'll be able to see if anybody is joining live. Let's begin. So the reason I wanted to raise this as a subject, because I think it's so applicable to all of us, whether you are by yourself but working in a group environment. We deal with people every single time. We enter the rooms every single time, both physical rooms, virtual rooms, family rooms, work environment rooms, and quite often we look at reading the room as a social skill, which it is. It's an important skill to have. But today I want to talk about a different layer underneath it, or behind it, if you may say, because for me, reading the room quite often becomes a capacity skill. We can be a really social person, a really outgoing person, but as we have discussed in some of the other talks, and I share a lot about the capacity importance overall, without capacity, no social skill will be sustainable, because we need to know that we are able to manage energetically everything that comes with entering the room and being productive and part of it that understands the room very well. It's very hard for us to read the room if we are not quite present in it. And it often happens, and there is no judgment there whatsoever. So we always apply our kindness first. It happens though, that when we are entering rooms, we might not necessarily be fully present, myself included. Sometimes you catch yourself, I catch myself, that what I'm doing right now is maybe managing the environment I'm in. Maybe I'm performing a role that right now I am capable of. And sometimes it is about just dragging the feet through, almost like a surviving through an experience. And today I want us to talk about it. Firstly, well, how can then we start to create that skill from the position of energy, presence, and capacity? Something that I notice quite a lot, and you might resonate as well, including ourselves, when we are walking into a room, we are in a bit of an output mode. It's about what's expected, what needs to be fixed, where do I need to react or respond, how do I need to manage situation, how do I carry myself through this. So output mode, what do I bring into the room in terms of what's expected of me. But energetically, reading the room starts before we enter it. Reading the room starts with us reading our own space inside. What am I bringing into the room? How am I walking into it? What are my energy levels? Where I am at in terms of my mental space, sometimes even physical capacity, my physical body. What about my emotional space? Am I truly understanding where I am and what I am capable of bringing into the room for myself as well as for the people inside? And this could be just a simple check. Am I regulated right now? Am I feeling like I am capable of managing whatever comes my way? Am I present, or is my mind already somewhere else? And an example that I shared yesterday, if you've seen my video, on a quick video, was my teaching kids. And something that I have learned very much so from teaching children is the capacity management. I'm running the workshops every school holidays, 3 hours length. And a few people said to me in the past, how do you manage? How do you manage to keep the attention of the kids for so long? And mind you, I'm teaching them yoga and mindfulness. So ideally, this is not somewhere where I can lose patience. Yes, it is about classroom management, and to be honest, teaching kids overall, it's not so much about what you teach them, it's about how do you manage the classroom, but putting the mindfulness and yoga aspect into it. It's something that I want to manage well, in the sense that you want it to be peaceful, I want it to be productive, I want it to be enjoyable. And this is where my capacity and my understanding of my own capacity comes in very much so. Because before I can step into that room and lead those kids, whether it's a one child, whether it's many kids, it does not really matter. It is about me understanding what am I holding, how much space am I holding, how can I lift myself up or hold myself enough so then I can extend myself to hold that space for others. Energetically, I need to arrive into that room before those kids walk in. And it's exactly the same thing that's been very helpful for me to translate it into my day-to-day life with my kids at home, with my partner, with anybody I really come across with, in my coaching sessions, in my yoga teaching sessions, in any environment really. Before I can read the room of another person, I need to be able to read my own room first. Our state, our energy level sets the tone of how we are going to read the room and respond to it when it comes to other people. So it's all very nice. You would say, all right, well, what do we do about it? Our nervous system is an instrument that is very helpful to learn how to tap into the temperature within ourselves as well as within the room. Because we do not read the room with the eyes. Yes, there is a little bit of it, but we sense the energy, and whether you are a visual person or it's more about we're listening, sometimes it's about seeing the body language or just energetically. Some of us are very sensitive towards the energy in the room. And the whole idea of empathetic people is sensing the energy in the room also comes in, and it's super important. But this is where our regulation of the nervous system and knowing which tools to use is so important. Because and by regulated, I don't mean it to be fully calm, present, 100%, being at 100% level of energy. I am saying to be able to go up and down, or mostly picking ourselves up, bringing yourself to that state that is needed in order for you to be present and then give that presence towards other people. Because when we have that regulation, that sensitivity, that emotional flexibility available, then we are able to pick up those subtle cues. We are able to feel the energy of the room, to feel it without being overwhelmed by it or draining us. Because let's face it, we can face all sorts of energy in the room when we come in. So being prepared and capable doesn't just mean we are feeling it. It also means, can I respond to it resourcefully? And when our own nervous system is underregulated, we may either not pick up the clues or feel them so much that we are getting affected by it, drained by it, the mood drops, the energy drops, and in the end, it's not really a great experience for us, potentially for another person as well. So once again, we're coming back towards capacity. The self-capacity is the baseline. It's not an indulgence. It's not a wish for. It's about, this is my baseline I want to operate from. See, for me, thriving as a baseline starts here. Am I fully present? Am I fully present, and am I capable to hold space for myself, no matter what happens in this room? So then I can also hold that space for other person. Am I able to sense what is happening with myself when I deal with a particular person? Because sometimes we might enter into the room and straight away there is uneasiness. And I actually would like you to maybe check in with yourself and remember a situation where you walked into a room and you felt, sometimes it's a warm feeling, or sometimes it may be a feeling of uneasiness. Where do you notice that in the body? And having that capacity gives us space to be open. Because one of the things that can happen, and you may resonate with this, when our energy levels are quite low, we already are walking into the room with a bit of an expectation. This is what's going to happen because this is what your nervous system at the moment is ready to cope with. Quite often it could be a worst case scenario. But when we start to really read the room, reading the room is not having an agenda, not project our own expectations, but rather entering and observing without fixing. It's about checking in and seeing what is needed of me right now. What does this person might need right now? Not us jumping to the next available step because we think this is what we need. When we think that this is what the other person needs, quite often it's because this is what I am capable of giving right now. But it might not necessarily be what they need. And I've learned it even in kids yoga teaching, sometimes the hard way. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I've had some sessions in the past because I've taught quite a lot of sessions with kids of different sizes, groups, different environments, and you go through a situation where sometimes your capacity is a bit under, and that's why it's so important for me, because for me it was important to develop those skills that then I can shift into the necessary state to be able to really hold space, be there for the other person and enjoy it. Because truth is that we are enjoying the experience when we have enough energy and then we feel like we are giving it the best. We are giving the best to this particular situation and then we can enjoy it even more. Kids workshops, the 3-hour ones, are really great indication of how important is it for me to listen. Because you can have as many class plans, workshop plans in the world, but if the energy in that room is low, I need to be able to notice that. I need to be able to see those subtle clues. Perception is that kids just want fun, kids just want energetic. But the thing is, quite often you start to lose their attention when what I do might not necessarily be what they need right now. And as a result, this gives a beautiful opportunity to start building the trust. And I'll give you an example, because more and more the kids that come regularly to my workshops, they becoming more comfortable in expressing how they feel, and their whole body starts to communicate. So more and more I notice that people who come to my classes, kids to my custom come to my classes more regularly, they're becoming much more comfortable in sharing, whether verbally or just through their body language, that they actually are tired. They're actually tired, and in this moment right now, some mindful tools might be better rather than a high energy. But then the other times, it could be completely opposite. So having the different tools in my toolkit is important, and you can apply to anything, anywhere. But the most important part is for me to be able to sense it. What would work the best right now? And again, this can apply to any relationship. Imagine having that ability to check in quickly with yourself first before maybe responding to your partner, your own kids, holding that space. Maybe for some of you who are also now managing the extra juggle of the school holidays, this could be helpful. What am I bringing into the room? How am I stepping into? Not from the perspective of what's expected of me, but rather, can I hold that space? Can I hold the space for myself as well as for the other person? Am I observing rather than projecting what I think is happening right here? So reading the room is becoming really useful when we are able to skillfully and resourcefully respond. Because if we are reading the room, but then we are projecting our own answer and fixing what we think is the answer, it's not really that valuable. Reading the room comes with the capacity to notice, but also capacity to respond. Your flexibility is having again that space to move. Even if I look at it from the position of imagine stretching in a tight stretch, your flexibility builds up from the small moments of going in and out of the stretch. This is where it builds. It's having that room to move, room to grow, room to respond. Quite often we might walk into the room thinking, oh, this is what I have prepared, and then there is completely misalignment energetically. And I wonder if you may resonate with that, whether it's family, whether it's work related. Can we pivot and respond without panicking, or maybe panicking a little bit, but even that, acknowledging your own panic, this is already you reading your own inner room. So what do we do on a day-to-day basis? Well, here are a couple of things that I would like you to maybe try next time. So firstly, as I mentioned previously, before you walk into a room, check in with yourself. Where are my energy levels? How am I feeling? Is there any way that I can boost myself up right now or give myself a little bit of grace? Maybe it's just an understanding that right now I'm a little bit tired and I just need to be kind enough to myself to feel like, well, maybe my responsiveness towards in the room might need to take a little bit tone down. If you find yourself in a situation where things are becoming overwhelming, or you feel like, well, I cannot quite give space towards this person to fully be present with them, give yourself that space of awareness. Take a breath. Sometimes, maybe if it's possible, we think about that kindness. Remember our played arms, kindness and honesty. Sometimes it might be the honesty. Just sharing with the other person that maybe energetically right now you are a little bit not quite there. And even as a parent, quite often, this could be one of the best things that we can do, even for our children. To share with them that it's okay to be honest about your capacity right now gives them a huge, huge permission to do the same for themselves. And same applies to everybody. It's depending on the person that you're comfortable to show that level of vulnerability with. And then most importantly, how can you support yourself on a day-to-day basis? How can you build that capacity in advance? And I'll talk a lot about that, the thriving bank, the coins for the thriving bank, it all adds up. Think about it as your thriving and energy account. And there would be situations where you feel prepared, you feel in your best capacity, and then you still walk into the room and something else completely is required of you. This is where you tap into those resources. This is where they are so, so important. So, number one, check in yourself before you walk into the room. Number two, if you feel like you are being a little bit drained or affected, or you cannot quite respond instead of reacting to the situation, be kind to yourself and be honest. At least with yourself about it. If you can, with the other person. And then the third step is keep building your thriving account. Keep building that capacity. Because that capacity is what makes that thriving a baseline from where you walk into any room. Thriving doesn't mean that your energy is at 100% all the time. It just means that you are capable of catching yourself, apply those filters of honesty and kindness, and make the best out of any situation. Not perfect, but responding responding rather than reacting as much as possible. I hope this has been helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts, so please share your comments or questions. And if you're watching on replay, then please put hashtag replay. And I am looking forward to see you next week, or speak to you even if I am speaking and you're listening to me afterwards. I'm looking forward to having that connection again with you. Thank you so much.